Hello everyone and welcome. This is General History Gaming and this is part 21 of our Ultimate General Civil War playthrough. Now after Lee's defeat at Mountain by the uncharacteristically aggressive McClellan, he retreated back across a creek known as the Antietam Creek just near the town of Sharpsburg, Maryland. Where he decided to make a stand against McClellan, believing that McClellan was, like I said, uncharacteristically aggressive during the South Mountain battles. He believed he would resort to his normal ways, and that McClellan did. So here we go. We are about to fight the battle. We have entered the state of Maryland to bring the war to the. Oh God! We have entered the state of Maryland to bring the war into Union territory. General McClellan moves to intercept us with a much bigger army. We are outnumbered, but we shall prepare to meet our enemy near the town of Sharpsburg, creating a solid defense behind Antietam Creek. We must not lose this battle, or General McClellan will be able to encircle and destroy our army. So yeah, one of the big criticisms of Lee during this battle was he actually chose to fight at Antietam Creek, which, while offering great defensive positions, also only had one very narrow avenue of retreat back into Virginia. So if McClellan was able to cut off that avenue of retreat, it could effectively destroy Lee's entire army. So it was a lot of historians look back at this and believe this was to be a huge blunder. Now it sort of works out for Lee, as he is able to hold off McClellan's assaults, although who actually historically won the battle can be up for debate. It really depends on your perspective on the battle. I tend to think it's more of a Pyrrhic victory for the Union, although very much could be seen as a Confederate victory as well. Both of them I would say, would be a Pyrrhic victory, though. So let's go ahead and start this battle. See what we're going up against here. Okay, so we have our 3 corps, nearly 3 full corps. Of course, my 3rd corps under Longstreet isn't fully fleshed out yet, but hopefully it will be enough to hold off this Union onslaught. We are going to put my 1st corps on the left flank. That should be the area in which we see the most battle. 2nd corps will go in the middle, and Longstreet we will place on our right flank. Now, McClellan gave Lee time to prepare, so on the 15th is when Lee finally makes it to Sharpsburg and begins to prepare his defenses. McClellan would arrive later that evening as well, but he chooses to hold off. Now, McClellan was under this belief that, despite his losses at South Mountain, that Lee still had about 100,000 men under his command. This was way off. Now, as we look at the numbers for the game, it says here that the Union will be bringing 83,000 troops to the battle. We'll be bringing 68,000. This number is actually fairly accurate. The Union had about 87,000 troops engaged at the Battle of Antietam. While not fully engaged, McClellan would actually not even use 2 of his corps. Those would be the 5th, and I believe I know it was Porter's 5th Corps. I believe it was the 7th Corps under Franklin, I want to say. I know it was Franklin, I just don't remember the corps number. I believe it was the 7th Corps, though. He wouldn't actually even engage them. They'd be present on the field, but they wouldn't be engaged. Now, we have about 30,000 more troops than Lee actually had at the Battle of Antietam. Lee had about 38,000 troops under his command. Some of these troops will be arriving throughout the day on the 17th. Now, like I said, had McClellan attacked on the 16th of September, he probably would have overwhelmed Lee, because Lee still hadn't had all his troops. Longstreet was arriving from Hagerstown, and Jackson was arriving from his victory at Harper's Ferry, and even then, Jackson didn't have all his troops. He had left A.P. Hill behind to sort of manage things at Harper's Ferry. So like I said, he had this opportunity on the 16th to defeat Lee. He decides not to take it. Like I said, he resorts back to his more cautious ways. Now, on the night of the 16th, he does send Hooker's first corps across the Antietam and down where Hooker would eventually skirmish with some of Hood's troops in the East Woods, which would be right about here on this map. And that would be only it for the on the 16th. Like I said, it was just minor skirmishing. Hood would then eventually be retracted from the field, where he was promised by Jackson that he would get a breakfast in the morning. Hood's troops hadn't eaten for several days, and Hood asked to be allowed to have a hot meal the next day. Jackson said that he would, but if he called upon, he expected Hood to answer his orders. Hood was actually part of not Jackson Longstreet's corps, but because of Lee's wing system, even though Hood was part of Longstreet's corps, he was on Jackson's left wing at the time of the battle, so he fell under the command of Jackson. Now, McClellan's plan for the battle was simple, if you can call it a plan. There's been a lot of debate over what kind of plan Hooker actually had for the battle, because it more or less seemed like it was more fleshed out after the battle than before the battle. He only issued orders to the individual corps commanders and didn't actually have a concise battle plan that all the corps commanders knew what was going on. The corps commanders only knew what they were in charge of at the time, which leads to this belief that McClellan really didn't have an overall strategy for the battle. Now, it is believed that McClellan didn't actually think this was his battle to win. It was just his battle not to lose. With the idea being, all he had to do was get Lee to retreat back into Virginia. Because he had believed he had already won his victory here in the North. So all he had to do was make it so Lee would retract, and basically his honor would be attacked, and all his naysayers up until this point would be proven wrong. So let's go ahead, after all that mindless rambling. Well, actually, sorry. So McClellan's plan, I sort of got off on a tangent there, was basically attack on both flanks, crush them on their flanks, and then attack in the middle. Like I said, not very fleshed out, and like I said, the corps commanders only knew what they were in charge to do. So let's go ahead and start this battle. Like I said, 83,000 against 68,000 should be more than enough to be able to hold. This is the town of Sharpsburg. Yeah, the nearby area offers good defense positions that will help counter the Union Army of General McClellan. Antietam Creek on the east helps us defend our right flank. This bridge should be defended because the Federals will surely attempt to cross it. The river has several other possible passages, but we do not have enough men to guard them all. We expect the main bulk of the Union Army to arrive from the valley situated at the north of the town. We must guard our left flank at Nicodemus Hill. We should also place most of our infantry in these woods that provide good protection from enemy fire. Our line will extend eastwards up to this location along the sunken road. From here we can dominate river crossing to the east. The rest of our troops are on their way and will arrive down this road. No, I don't think they will, because I don't have any troops in reserve. Don't have enough corps yet. Not to mention my third corps isn't even fully fleshed out yet. The Union Army is in position and may attack at dawn. Be wary, General. Okay. Union forces are approaching from the north. We will need to hold our defensive lines established in the woods. Nicodemus Hill is perfect for placing artillery and shooting at the flanks of the advancing Union lines. Our main objective is to not allow the enemy to capture Dunkirk Church area, which will allow their further advance towards the town and our supply center. Furthermore, the church provides excellent sight lines that will help us track the Union's movement. We expect our first reinforcements to arrive in about 2 hours, so it is advised not to overstretch our lines with aggressive maneuvers. Watch your flanks and hold tight. Good luck, General. Okay, there we go. So we have most of our first corps on the field. Let's see, we only get 3 brigades to put on. Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to pull all them out. We're going to get some artillery on that hill, as well as at the Dunkirk Church. Let's go ahead and pull that artillery out. Now, I probably want to put my long-range guns, 10-pounders, up on this hill. Do I have any more long-range guns? Those are howitzers. 10 pound. What did I put in there? Okay. So I'll put my other 10-pound gun battery in on the heights, as well as one. Let's see, where are my? I just need. Should I put my sharpshooters on the hill, or should I go an actual brigade? Well, let's go an actual brigade. Let's go with. We'll go with the Wise Legion. They have the CS Richmond rifles. That'll be a good. Oh, I guess I gotta pull them out. That'll be a good division to put on this hill, guarding these artillery batteries. Alright, get them situated. Alright, that should be enough to hold them there. I want to go ahead and get all my artillery on the field. So I got 2 to put in there, so I can put my gun battery here. I don't want to bring my cavalry in just yet either. I'm also debating on whether I actually want my sharpshooters on the field. I don't think I do. I think I'm going to pull them out as well for now. Try and get as many troops as I can. Because what I want to do is I'm definitely going to want... I'll probably leave some skirmishers back here, but I definitely want to take positions in the cornfield here. And we will bring in... Wait, what? Who do I want to bring in? Bring in these guys. Louisiana Tigers. There we go. So that's going to be my starting infantry. Take up positions in the woods. Make sure all my batteries are forward. We'll sort of put these guys in the middle. We'll put the Stonewall Brigade here. Maybe try and take these farms here as well. Probably going to want to put some troops in the Eastwood as well. Now, I don't know how quickly we're going to have to move. But let's go ahead and start the battle and pause. Let's go ahead and figure this out. Now, the battle did start at 5:30, so that is correct. As Hooker's first course begins their march down the Hagerstown Road. Let's go ahead. We'll put... Actually, we'll break off some skirmishers. We'll put them in the woods. We'll leave the Legion, the Wise Legion, on the hill itself. We'll move them forward a little bit. Just for now. If I notice Union troops sort of flanking the hill, then I'll just pull out the guns probably. But for now, I'm going to lead them on. Well, first, let's go ahead and set up positions in the cornfield. So we'll put Bloody 8th there, the Alabama Brigade there, and the Tigers there. We'll leave behind some skirmishers at the Dunkirk Church for now. We'll move the Innocents into the East Woods. What do I got the Tigers doing? So I put the bloodiest there, Alabama. So the Tigers will go into that middle point. And we'll move the Old Dominion Guard in these back fortifications. I think that'll be okay. I'm also going to break off some skirmishers and put them in this position on the East Woods. Stonewall will go into this position. So for the time being, I'm not going to have any troops in the West Woods, which could end up... Oh, I can put a position here. That works. Which could end up being a downfall. We'll see. I am going to get reinforcements though, so I'm fairly confident in not having any troops there now. Because, like I said, I could always retreat these batteries and these troops if need be, if I'm beginning to get threatened here in my center. Because for right now, the rest of the battlefield is cut off, so for this, at least these first 2 hours, I'm only going to have to deal with more than likely the forces coming down the road, which would be Hooker's First Corps, as I said. Alright, so let's go ahead and play and get these people moving. I don't know if I want to rush them into position. I don't know where Hooker's forces are actually going to start. I don't know if they're going to start all the way back there. But we'll see. Now, Jackson only had about, I want to say 67,000. Sorry, not 67,000. About 6,700 troops on the field. Hooker outnumbered him by about 1,000 troops. But Jackson had the better positions. Now, like I said, Hooker marched down the Hagerstown Turnpike here, and eventually would move out of the North Woods here and sort of begin to square off against Jackson's forces in the cornfield. It began more with a artillery duel, as Jackson's horse artillery under the command of Jeff Stewart, who was actually holding the heights, supported by Jubal Early's brigade, as well as his artillery near the Dunker Church. They squared off with Union batteries who had taken up positions on the North Ridge, just north of the North Woods here. So that's how the morning began. However, as I said, Hooker noticed the glint of the Confederate bayonets in the cornfield and began ordering his men into the cornfield. Now, this opening artillery duel became known as artillery held, based on the extreme amount of casualties that each side would take during this massive artillery duel. It's one of the few times that you could really count during the war that Confederate artillery was actually extremely useful. For most of the war, it wasn't. But like I said, in this case, for the most part, this is one of those few instances. Just like in the Battle of Manassas, Longstreet's artillery was fairly strong in forcing back Union forces during that battle. It was sort of the same here. So, like I said, Hooker first begins his assault through the cornfields. He launches attacks into Miller's farm. Sorry. Now, this is the battle which becomes famous, although in many battles that were fought in the Civil War were fought in wheat fields, cornfields. This really became known as the cornfield. So when you talk about Civil War history, when you hear somebody mentions the cornfield, they're probably referring to Miller's cornfield during the Battle of Antietam. Probably one of the more famous instances because of the incredibly heavy fighting that took place there. So Hooker launches these assaults into the cornfield where the Confederates were amassed. He moves up artillery pieces close and begins shooting canister into the cornfield. Now the forces that enter the cornfield, they fight at considerably close range, as well as intense melee battles as the battles sort of rage, just because of the short visibility lines because of the cornfield. We are talking September. The corn stalks are at this point at their peak, so they're very large, and visibility is extremely low because of this. Meanwhile, Meade's forces, who were advancing sort of in the center rear of the two advancing forces. Sorry, I forgot to mention that Doubleday would be on the Union right as he moves forward, and who was on the right? So Meade was in the center, and Ricketts was on the Union left. Ricketts was commanded the famous Ricketts Battery during the First Battle of Manassas, the battery that would change hands several times. He is now in command of a division. Now Meade, like I said, as Hooker is launching forces into the cornfield, Meade begins entering the eastward, where he sorry, I'm sort of trying to pay attention to the battle at the same time. Like I said, Meade advances into Eastwood, where he engages with James Walker's division or brigades, and he forces the 1st Pennsylvania, which is the troops that Meade sent into the Eastwood. Sorry, I'm starting to get a little rambly here as I'm trying to pay attention to the battle and talk about the history at the same time. Like I said, Walker is able to force back that 1st Pennsylvania unit, and at the same time that the 1st Pennsylvania is then retreating from the eastward, Ricketts' division is now moving into the cornfield, only to be shredded, not by the troops in the cornfield, but the artillery, the Confederate artillery at the Dunkard Church, which just shreds his units as they advance into the cornfield. Alright, so we're sort of holding. We haven't actually even allowed them to advance. We just got more help, so we're going to start bolstering our forces in the West Woods. We have some cavalry. I'm going to move them to the Nicodemus Heights. We're going to start, like I said, bolstering most of these troops into the West Woods. I probably will send some of my troops to the East Woods, especially now that they are being attacked, as well as move some troops in and around the Dunkard Church. So they are beginning to rush us now and assault us, getting a few charges in, but the Louisiana Tigers are able to fire into the back ranks. They are charging all across the board. Let's go ahead and pause this so I can figure out what I want to do here. You know, there's really nothing I could do. I just hope that they can hold off. I'll probably launch some counterattacks with these troops that are now moving up, these fresh troops. If these men begin to break, it looks like we're actually breaking them here at the entrance to the cornfield here. Alright, so let's go ahead and play. Let's see how this plays out. Now, Abram Dury's brigade also attempts to move into the cornfield right after Ricketts. He sort of makes a little bit of headway as the Union charges another division, and the Alabama brigade breaks. Hopefully the Louisiana Tigers can hold them off for some time. Breckinridge is now wounded over here with the Innocent Brigade, but we are able to push our Heartstuffs Brigade. Abram Dury, like I said, he begins to move into the cornfield. He sort of begins to make some progress, but because he doesn't have any sort of reserves behind him, he eventually also gets forced back. I can't control the Alabama Brigade or the Bloody 8th right now, so I want to try and pull them out and try and counterattack here in a minute. but I can't at the moment. And there you go. The Alabama completely rout. Moving Cook. Let's go ahead and get these guys up here at the double. Like, so, yeah, Dury is not able to sort of hold his ground that he's taken, and he is forced back. And so all these Union forces who are now entering the cornfield, as they're sort of beginning to waver under the onslaught of the Confederate defenders, that's when Jackson sends in the Louisiana Tigers, who are now in control of Harry Hayes. These Tigers are able to really push the Union forces that are in the cornfield. They push them out. No, bloody 8, you get back. Actually, you know what? You just retreat. You get out of there. We'll go ahead and counterattack here in a minute. Just get out of there. Alright, so Cook, stop running you. Let's get you on their flank. Nigger, you can start advancing into the east woods. Stop running you as well. So the Louisiana Tigers, like I said, they pushed all the Union forces out of the eastward. What is the bloody 8 doing? I have no idea what just happened there. We'll get them behind the Tigers and try and hold them there. So my guns on Nicodemus Hill are already starting to run out of ammo. I'm wondering if it's worth sending up my artillery truck for. I guess it is for now. We've been able to hold Nicodemus Heights. There was that slight sort of assault that they sent against us. Innocents, get back in the cover. So they push us back out of this first defensive line, so we're sort of allowing them in. Richard Ewell is now wounded. So we've been sort of forced back, but we have the reserves right now, and we're doing a lot of casualties to them. So I'm happy with so far with the way the battle is going. Move up extra Billy Smith towards the edge of the woods here. Moving the sharpshooters behind the Stonewall Brigade, who's... I think I'm going to pull out here. I'm going to pull the Stonewall Brigade out of here. They're going to set them up in these woods here. Christensen is chasing after the Stonewall Brigade, but hopefully extra Billy Smiths and the Virginia sharpshooters can give them, we get them to stop. So we'll set up Stonewall Brigade in the West Woods here, guarding that flank. So where was I in history? That's right, Louisiana Tigers, like I said, forced the Union forces out of the cornfield, only to have the Union artillery just unload into them at point-blank range. And unfortunately for the Louisiana Tigers, they would lose about 300 men of their 500 men almost instantaneously. And of course, they are forced backwards. Now, this starts a slight lull in the action in the cornfield. Now, on the other side, like I said, on the Westwood side, John Gibbon, under command of the now infamous Iron Brigade, who gained their fame in the Second Battle of Manassas, he's advancing his forces astride the Hagerstown Turnpike, and he advances them into the West Woods. He goes up against two of Jackson's brigades that are holding position in the West Woods, and he beats them back. Federals attacked the Sunken Road. Okay, so I'm a little behind in my history. We're a lot farther ahead than I'm at. The Federalists send another attacking wave. We are greatly outnumbered. General Dunker Church must be held, or else our left flank will certainly collapse. This sunken road creates a dominant defense position that can anchor our right flank. We must defend it. Be careful to guard the bridge because the enemy may attempt to cross it. It is advised to deploy some artillery to guard the far shore of the river. Alright. So we'll do just that. We'll get some artillery up here. And we'll send a couple of units to defend the bridge. Alright. So, in historical fashion, let's go ahead and move up the Texas Brigade. And I think move Hayes into these positions. We have a lot of troops in reserve. We're moving Lane. We're going to move Bryan back a little. That's the artillery that we're moving to the river there. Let's go ahead and move up my artillery a little. We'll leave all them in reserve. So we'll keep everybody else in reserve the way they are for now. I'll also send my cavalry sort of down here. Alright, so there we go. Actually, looking at the time, let's go ahead and cut this episode off here. This seems like a good place to stop, and we'll pick up the next episode. But really quickly, let's go ahead and catch up. Like I said, I was a little behind the actual where we are historically in the battle. So if we're at 7:30, that means, let's see, Mansfield Brigade is now starting to commit, as well as us. Was Sumner's Brigade starting to commit? No, I don't think so yet. I believe they started committing about 9:30. Could be wrong though. But like I said, Gibbons advances into the West Woods here. He beats back a couple of Jackson's brigades holding the northern edge of the West Woods. Now, the Stonewall Brigade then attempts to push them back. They charge at them, but they draw heavy fire and take heavy losses, including their commander, William Stark. He falls and he unfortunately dies during the battle. He's one of the many generals on both sides who died during the battle. So what begins happening, and I guess this is sort of where we are in the battle. Lee begins pulling his forces from the right flank and sends them left. Like I said, and this is where Jackson then requests Hood to come forward. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the episode, I said Hood, who had held the Northwoods the night before and had been pulled back behind the lines, who is now trying to get a hot breakfast, is now told he is to advance and attack the Union forces into the cornfield. But we'll get into all that next episode as we sort of begin to launch our counterattack, hopefully, and try and force what's left of Hooker's division out of this sort of position that we are now finding ourselves in. Because I got a feeling the Louisiana Tigers aren't going to be able to hold this position much longer, not facing all these brigades, because really these Meagher's brigade and some of these, and the Innocents and Cooks might be able to fight off some of these troops near the East Woods here, but like everybody else that I have here in reserve, aren't going to be able to shoot into these unless the Louisiana Tigers get into melee. And like I said, this is a lot of troops to be facing off against by themselves. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, we'll see what happens in the next episode. For now, this is General History signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.